Good evening and welcome to Undaunted, bringing into the news untold stories. I am Star Smart. Let's begin. Life has returned to normalcy in Bamenda today, Tuesday, after yesterday's Monday Ghost Town. Mondays in southern Cameroon's Ambazonia Ghost Town Days. This instituted in 2017. Since then, Amazonians have been faithful in observing the Monday's ghost towns. A stranger who saw the town of Bamenda yesterday, Monday, will be astonished seeing it today. The streets are busy, shops are open, and business is going on as usual, contrary to yesterday when only ghosts occupied every corner of the town. Meanwhile, since the current phase of the Amazonian struggle for self-determination and the restoration of Amazonians' independence erupted in November 2016, Amazonians have massively boycotted the 20th May celebrations in their territory. This day for all Southern Cameroon's Amazonians is a day of infamy. On this day, in 1972, the colonial La République du Cameroun, the French Cameroon, in clear violation of the Federal Constitution of 1961 that brought the Independent Republic of French Cameroon and the Independent Republic of the Southern Cameroons together, through an illegal and fraudulent referendum, dissolved the Confederal Union of both states and imposed a unitary state in its place, annexing the sovereign peoples of the Southern Cameroons. Why it is now considered a day of mourning for Amazonians. More details coming up in the full briefings after the prime headlines.
All right, here are the prime headlines for today. Amazonians return to the usual activities today, Tuesday, May 16th, 2023. Tonight, Islamic Development Bank stakes 21 billion francs CFA for so-called reconstruction of war-torn South Cameroon. Tonight as well, Amazonians must boycott 20th May celebration. We are going to be giving you the history and more reasons why you must boycott 20th May celebration. And on the African scene, South Africa's ground forces commander visits Moscow. And of course, Ukrainian and Russian war. First time Kyiv has claimed to shoot down multiple Kinzels. All right, let's get the news in detail.
Our vision in this interim government is to make ABC a leader and a real war of our struggle. We want to grow it, expand it, hire and train more hands, and broadcast round the clock, around the world, and take command of the media space of this world.
You can enjoy all round the clock, 24/7 exclusive moments of bliss as an ABC Amba TV Club member. A cappella. Latest Nigerian/African movies, global politics, ABC Amba News and updates, historical documentaries, and lots more. In our daily programs, we have Undaunted, ABC Amba News, bringing into the news untold stories with Onyi Opala and Star Smart. Exclusive discussion, revolutionary panel conversation, infotainment, edutainment, intro governmental debates on topical issues with Tar Padikin, the Liberation Movement, Fronting IG, and people of Ambazonia's position. The Struggles Weekly Update with Secretary Martin Mungwa, PhD, FASCE. Health is wealth, health education, and awareness within the Ambazonian community with Dr. Yaya. Liberation Prayer, an intercessory ministry for Ambazonia with Pastor Victor Amba. Our freedom, spiritual awareness, and education for the Ambazonian community with Pastor Victor Amba and Pastor Commando. Church and politics, neutralizing the myths and preconceived religious and political philosophies that limit the Christian involvement in the realm of decent politics with Pastor Commando. The Horizon, the voice of the Ambazonian woman with Dr. Patience Abiedo and Lady Casey. Our Amber history, bringing to limelight the hidden history of Ambazonia to the world with Pastor Commando. Appointment on community building, education on patriotism within the Ambazonian communities with Ma Rachel Itatima. Ethics for an emerging nation, watchdog of basic principles and morals of a nation at war with Ma Dorothy Ngwa. Upcoming programs: Pigeon News, Vernacular Talk Show, County Roots, Activists Corner, Amba Focus, only on ABC Amba Television. Whipple, the voice of the voiceless. For 24/7 access, subscribe as a club member on www.abcambatv.com/subscribe. Payment method: www.abcambatv.com/donate. ABC Amba TV payment channels: Cash App 202-650-2216, Zelle 240-486-8768, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. PayPal donations at abcambatv.com. For more details, call +124 028 43 111. You can email us at info@abcambatv.com.
Looking at the streets of Bamenda today, Tuesday, 16th May 2023, one will ask where all the pressers were yesterday, as the streets are flooded with pedestrians, bikes, and vehicles. For it wasn't the same yesterday, May 15th rather. The streets were empty yesterday and shops locked, as the usual Monday ghost towns were respected. Undaunted in the streets of Bamenda today, Tuesday, to see how the town is after the Monday ghost town. The faces of those on the streets, motor parks, and the markets depicts the strength and vitality to move on. Travel agencies are in gear and all the different markets, ranging from the Ntarinko market, Bamenda food market, Bamenda main market, and the Nkwe market, are all open with business going on as usual. All the Republic of Cameroon offices that were locked yesterday are open today. The colonial extortion points are very active with the occupational La Republic of Cameroon police forces squeezing taxi drivers and commercial motorbike riders of their hard-earned money. Even La Republic of Cameroon authorities in Ambazonia are respecting the Monday ghost stones as well. Well, let's begin the full briefings of Undaunted tonight from here. How are you doing, sir?
Very well, Omni. Life has returned to normalcy in Bamenda today, Tuesday, May 16th, 2023, after yesterday's Monday ghost town. Mondays in southern Cameroon's Ambazonia are ghost town days, and this was instituted in 2017. Since then, Ambazonians have been really faithful in observing the Monday ghost towns. Many who have disobeyed and failed to respect Monday ghost towns have unfortunately been dealt with. A stranger who saw the town of Bamenda yesterday, Monday, will be astonished seeing it today. The streets are busy, shops are open, and business is going on as usual. This is contrary to yesterday when only ghosts occupied every corner of the town. The streets of the town of Bamenda were empty yesterday because the people of southern Cameroon's Ambazonia has decided to constantly send a message to the international community in general and to Cameroon in particular of the resolve to be free, and today they are busy.
All right, and moving on. La Republic of Cameroon continues to entice donor countries to put their loans at stake for the failed reconstruction of Ambazonia without even a ceasefire. How is reconstruction possible amid the carnage being inflicted on a day-to-day basis by the barbaric and exectionist oppressor, La République du Cameroon, and the peace-loving people of southern Cameroon, if not through miracles. While information reaching ABC Amber TV says the colonial La République du Cameroon government is envious of the rich Amazonian subsoil that they have been living and stealing from for over 60 years. While this has again secured new financial support as part of the so-called reconstruction of the war-torn Amber land.
The colonial La République du Cameroon Minister of Economy, Alamine Ousmane, May, on Monday, May 15, 2023, signed a loan agreement of 32.250 million pounds, about 21.155 billion franc CFA, with Mohammed Al Jassar, head of the Islamic Development Bank, the IDB, for La République du Cameroon to continue exploitation of the southern Cameroon's Amazonia. This loan, which only unborn generations shall born, will support the UNDAUNTED government's efforts to rebuild and rehabilitate essential infrastructure, strengthen social cohesion, and revitalize local economy in the targeted La République du Cameroon farm that is also known as Amazonia. The colonial La République official, at the moment when many observers admitted fund mobilization remains a headache, said all of this to justify.
Well, out of a requested 154 billion francs CFA, that is approximately $258 million. The bankrupt La République du Cameroon only raised 155 billion by mid-2022, representing a mobilization rate of 7.4%, official data showed. Now, in detail, Paul Tassang, who coordinated the failed colonial project, explained that 75% of these amounts came from La République du Cameroon itself. The private sector contributed to 1.2 billion francs CFA. The United Nations Development Program contributed 400 million francs CFA, and Japan contributed 1.5 billion francs CFA. Last March, Japan approved an additional 1.3 billion francs CFA, bringing it to total contribution so far to 2.8 billion francs CFA.
Most boycotts 20th May year, the 19th and 20th of May, are the only days for lockdown. The 19th through the 22nd are the only days for lockdown, that is 4 days. And let's begin a critical question. Why must Southern Cameroon's Amazonia boycott these days, this 20th May celebrations? Since the current phase of Amazonian struggle for self-determination and the restoration of Amazonians' independence erupted in November 2016, the peoples of Amazonia have massively boycotted the 20th May celebrations in Amazonian territory. This day is a day of infamy to all Southern Cameroonians and Amazonians. On this day in 1972, the colonial Republic of French Cameroon, in clear violation of the Federal Constitution of 1961 that brought the Independent Republic of French Cameroon and the Independent Republic of the Southern Cameroons together.
Well, on this fateful day, Ahidjo, through an illegal and fraudulent referendum, dissolved the confederal union of both states and imposed a unitary state in its place. So, in other words, French Cameroon annexed and recolonized the Eastwell state of West Cameroon in violation of Article 47, subsection 1 of the Federal Constitution, which stated that, I quote, no bill to amend the Constitution may be introduced if it tends to impair the unity and integrity of the Federation. 2. Bills to amend the Constitution may be introduced either by the President of the Federal Republic after consultation with the Prime Ministers of the Federated State or by any member of the Federal Assembly, provided that any bill introduced by a member of the Assembly shall bear the signatures of at least one-third of its members.
Well, third point here is the amendment may be passed by by a majority of the membership of the Federal Assembly, provided that such majority includes a majority of the membership elected from each federated state. The President of the Federal Republic may request a second reading of a bill to amend the Constitution as of any other federal bill and in like manner. We must remember here that two separate republics with two different dates of independence came together in 1961 to form a confederal union of two equal states.
Well, the French Republic of Cameroon have obtained her independence on the 1st of January 1960 and becoming a member of the United Nations on the 20th of September 1960 within secured internationally recognized boundaries. Meanwhile, the Southern Cameroons obtained her independence on the 1st of October 1961 within secure internationally recognized boundary after a United Nations General Assembly vote Resolution 1608 of 21st April 1961. It's therefore inconceivable that in 2022, the Eastwell state of Cameroon has been annexed and recolonized by the Republic of Cameroon, and a war of genocide being waged against her now for the past 6 years to maintain such.
While Southern Cameroon's Amazonians, just like in the last 5 years of this God ordained struggle, will once more massively boycott the coming celebrations on May 20th across Amazonian territory. The interim government of Amazonia, led by His Excellency Dr. Samuel Ikome Sako, calls on all Amazonians to massively boycott the celebrations across Amazonian's national territory. Southern Cameroonians, Amazonians, all over the world should and must remember that the National Day remains October 1st, the day that the United Nations General Assembly set as the day of Amazonian independence following Resolution 1608 XV of April 21st, 1961.
We must therefore draw the attention of the United Nations and the international community at large to the illegal dissolution of the federal system in 1961 and the abolition of the state of West Cameroon in favor of a unitary state, a situation that was led to the subjugation of millions of Amazonians under French Cameroon's brutalities. It must also be remembered that though Southern Cameroon leaders were not in a position politically to oppose the illegal dissolution of the federal system, they, however, did not agree with their decision, forcing President Amadou Ahidjo of French Cameroon to organize an illegal referendum on the 20th of May 1972 in clear violation of the constitution of the day.
It can equally be argued that the seeds of resistance among Southern Cameroonians was planted on that day, and that has finally grown into the full-blown war of national liberation and restoration of sovereign statehood going on now in Amazonian land. Once more, the intergovernment of Amazonia reminds the people of Amazonia of the tragedy that befell Amazonians on this fateful day and call on all Amazonian citizens to show their rejection of the colonial status that French Cameroon has imposed upon them now for the past 57 years by massively boycotting the upcoming so-called National Day celebrations.
Amazonians must therefore remain resolute and not be taken by the vicious propaganda being peddled by Yaoundé, claiming that the Southern Cameroon's Amazonia is part of their territory with a common national day of 20th May, a day that a proud and valiant people were reduced to colonial status, a status worse than what was obtained during the trusteeship period and the period from 1954 to 1972 when we enjoyed a functional government befitting of our status.
Well, now, onto the African report. In Africa, the South Sudan war continues unabated, with a second round of talks that started on May 14th. The ounce of optimism left of this war ending has been shattered, as civilians in Sudan reported that there was no much sign of the violence easing anytime soon. Meanwhile, in South Africa, the commander of South Africa's ground forces has visited Moscow for talks with Russian counterparts just days after Washington accused South Africa of secretly providing arms to Russia.
The South African National Defense Force SANDF said on Monday that the meeting was planned well in advance as part of a long-standing arrangement and was a goodwill visit at the invitation of the Russian army. In her statement, Sandef said it confirms that the chief of the SA Army, Lieutenant General Lawrence Mbatter, is in Moscow for a bilateral meeting between the two military establishments. Well, it must be noted that South Africa has military to military bilateral relations with various countries in the continent and even beyond, it said. The SANDF receives numerous military delegations into the country and sends its own to other countries to discuss matters of mutual interest.
Well, Russian news agency reported earlier on Monday that Mbata was heading a delegation that discussed issues relating to military operations and interaction. Mbata had visited educational institutions of the ground forces and enterprises of the military industrial complex of Russia. The agency said that last week also United States Ambassador to Pretoria Ruben Brigitte said that the US believed weapons and ammunition had been loaded onto a Russian freighter that docked at a Cape Town naval base in December.
Well, South African officials rejected claims made by the US ambassador, who also said senior US officials had profound concerns over South Africa's professed policy of non alignment and neutrality over Russia's war in Ukraine. Ruling party seeks meeting with the US ambassador over Russia's allegations as well.
Well, the African National Congress, the ANC's National Working Committee, NWC, has expressed its intentions to meet with United States Ambassador Ruben Brigitte after he criticized the ANC's policy on Ukraine, which states that the U.S. provoked the war with Russia over Ukraine, hoping to put Russia in its place. Brigitte, who accused South Africa of selling arms to Russia, which the South African government denied, the ANC claims the ambassador apologized for his comments, although Brigitte called his utterances a misimpression.
Well, speaking to the media after a marathon NWC meeting, MNEC Secretary General Fikal Mbalula said that the country has insisted it would not condemn Russia's invasion of Ukraine and that the governments remained not aligned in the conflict. Right away from the BRICS summit, let's see what's new in the Russia and Ukrainian war. Putin had touted the nuclear-capable missile as a world beater, while Ukraine is preparing major counter-offensive, already claiming biggest battlefield gains for 6 months. Well, it will seem like Ukraine is measuring up to the heights Russia is throwing at her in this war.
Well, in Kyiv, Ukraine said it had shot down 6 Russian hypersonic Kinzhal missiles in a single night, thwarting a superweapon Moscow had previously touted as all but unstoppable. It was the first time Ukraine had claimed to have struck an entire volley of multiple hypersonic missiles, and if confirmed, would be a dramatic demonstration of the effectiveness of newly deployed Western air defenses.
Well, the 6 Kinzhal's ballistic missiles, which travels up to 10 times the speed of sound, were among a volley of 18 missiles Russia launched at Ukraine overnight. lighting up Kiev with flashes and raining debris after they were blasted from the sky. The commander in chief of Ukraine's armed forces, Valery Zaluzny, said all had been successfully intercepted. There was no immediate comment from Russia. City authorities in the Ukrainian capital said 3 people were wounded by falling debris.
Well, it was exceptional in its density, the maximum number of attack missiles in the shortest period of time, Serhiy Popko, head of Kiev's city military administration, said on the Telegram messaging app. Zaluzny said his forces had intercepted the 6 Kinzhals launched from aircraft, as well as 9 caliber cruise missiles from ships in the Black Sea and 3 Iskanders fired from land.
Earlier this month, Ukraine claimed to have shot down a single Kinzhal missile over Kyiv for the first time using a newly deployed U.S. Patriot air defense system. Previously, the ability of Patriots to intercept Kinzhal missiles only was theoretical. Hitting 6 at once would suggest it could be a reliable defense rather than a lucky shot.
President Vladimir Putin, who unveiled one of 6 next-generation weapons in 2018, had frequently touted it as proof of world-beating Russian military hardware capable of taking on NATO. The Kinzhal, whose name means dagger, can carry conventional or nuclear warheads up to 2,000 kilometers. Russia used them in warfare for the first time in Ukraine last year and has only acknowledged firing them on a few occasions.
Payment method: www.abcambertv.com/donate. ABC Amber TV payment channels: Cash App 202-650-2216, Zelle 240-486-8768, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. PayPal donations at abcambertv.com. For more details, call +124 028 43 111. You can email us at info@abcambertv.com. Payment method: www.abcambertv.com/donate. ABC Amber TV payment channels: Cash App 202-650-2216, Zelle 240-486-8768, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. PayPal donations at abcambertv.com. For more details, call +124 028 43 111. You can email us at info@abcambertv.com.
All right, and this is a special announcement. Of course, I'm sure that you're gearing up to the 20th of May celebration. All right, we have a program packed up just for you. It is called The Story Behind May 20th Celebration in La Republic de Cameroon. All right. The theme is the dangers of a fraudulent referendum, the case of 20th May 1972. The date is 19th May 2023. The time is 3 p.m. Boya time. The venue is ABC Amber TV. Now we have panel of discussants here, and we have the panel of discussion as well. The history of Southern Cameroons before 20th May 1972. I'm sure you don't want to miss that lecture as well. The impact of May 20th, 1972 on Southern Cameroons. Best ways to achieve permanent peace and justice between La Republic de Cameroon and the Southern Cameroons. And also the way forward for Southern Cameroons. Now we have great panelists, Barrister Tim Mbesier, Barrister Fru, Professor Ayim, Dr. Yaya. Further discussion would be Ma Rachel Timmer and Tapadi King. This is organized by Department of Education and Strategic Collaboration. And coming up next is the editorial.
In our editorial of today, we'll take further look into external self-determination through referendum, the case of Ambazonia, by Marcus F. Abendong. Continuing with the problem, sometimes an idea is esteemed to be wrong or seen to be wrong by who advances it. Skepticism is justified if the case at hand, the Yaoundé junta, has refused to go to the negotiation table, even to its own initiated Canadian table, suggests a referendum to decide the fate of the Southern Cameroons. The same applies if the suggestion comes from individuals within Southern Cameroon's struggle who have been seen and known to be opposed to the cause or whose actions and motives have been determined over the course of time to be suspicious and doubtful. The latter is the case in point. The question that skeptics will ask is, what are they up to this time around? The skepticism is legitimate because Yaoundé's anti-democratic culture is legendary and celebrated worldwide. From experience, Yaoundé only decides to carry out such things after it has mastered how to truncate it. Such is the case of their election management body, the ELECAM. The fear that Yaoundé will not or cannot organize a credible referendum is real. The complacency of the international community in matters concerning Cameroon is well established. We have seen this international community ask Yaoundé to carry out independent investigations into the carnage and wickedness perpetrated by its security forces on southern Cameroonians, in spite of the fact that Yaoundé's nonchalance in matters of transparency and justice is well known. While the writer is convinced that the present discussion is not provoked by any suggestion or insinuations by Yaoundé that it was considering a referendum for. It knows the outcome of such a referendum and that it will not be the one to conduct it. The present debate has been ignited by a certain Chris Ano, who has been seen in word and in action to be opposed to the cause. In the writer's opinion, he says Chris Ano and other Southern Cameroon's leaders who have burned their hands very sorely in Canada and are only now looking for means to build back their battered images and reputation with the South Cameroonian people, to afterwards use the renewed trust to inflict more damage to the cause hatched this referendum debate on their own. What better way to do this than to initiate discussions around the referendum? But is that enough reason to cast off what seems to be an obvious operational tool at the disposal of the United Nations to decide matters of external self-determination? With this rhetorical question, we'll end the editorial of tonight. But on Thursday, we'll continue with psychoanalysis of the protagonist, as this is an extensive article. If you want more of such interesting articles, kindly visit our website at www.abcambertv.com for more. Subscribe, become a club member, and a part of this winning strategy. Find out payment details on your screen. I am Star Smart, reporting for Undaunted ABC Amber TV.
And in sports, former Leeds and OM manager Marcelo Bielsa is the new manager of the Uruguay national team. The 67-year-old had been out of football. He has been out of football management since leaving Elland Road almost 15 months ago.
Well, Rugby League World Cup, France pulls out of hosting tournament in 2025. France has pulled out of hosting the 2025 Rugby League World Cup with organizers citing financial reasons for the decision. The tournament was awarded to France after initial plans for it to be held in North America were scrapped. We'll have Gabelasin tell us more.
Latest world sports. Football. Official. Marcelo Bielsa is the new Uruguay head coach. And former Leeds and OM manager Marcelo Bielsa is the new manager of the Uruguay national team. The 67-year-old had been out of football management since leaving Elan Road almost 15 months ago. The Uruguayan Football Association confirmed Bielsa's appointment on a deal running until the 2026 World Cup. He succeeds Diego Alonso, whose contract expired after the World Cup in Qatar earlier this season, where Uruguay suffered a shock group stage exit. Bielsa served as manager of Argentina from 1998 to 2004, and he also had a 4-year stint in charge of Chile. Bielsa guided Leeds back to the Premier League from the Championship in 2020 and was one of the most popular managers in the club's history, but he left in February last year following a run of 4 successive league defeats. The veteran coach had been one of the leading candidates to take over at Everton earlier this season after the sacking of Frank Lampard, but despite holding talks with the Toffees, he rejected the role. He feared the squad lacked pace and also worried about their battle against relegation, preferring to take over in pre-season. Bielsa's lengthy managerial career has also included spells with Athletic Bilbao, Marseille, and Lille. Uruguay are currently 16th in FIFA's world rankings, with Bielsa's first major campaign at the helm set to be next year's Copa America in the United States. Son Young-ho, South Korean footballer detained in China in bribery probe. China has confirmed its detention of a South Korean footballer in relation to a bribery case. Son Young-ho, who plays in the Chinese Super League, is in police custody in the northeastern Liaoning province, China's foreign ministry said. The 31-year-old was detained at the Shanghai airport on Friday, according to South Korean media. Reports of Mr. Son's detention came amid a concerted crackdown on corruption and match fixing in China's football. Diplomats from South Korea will meet with Mr. Son to figure out exactly what kind of charges he has been detained for. Yonhap News Agency reported, citing sources. The country's foreign ministry said its mission in China was providing consular support to Mr. Son, but declined to comment further. China has arrested at least 4 football officials in the past 3 months for alleged wrongdoing. Mr. Son moved to China's Shandong province in 2021, where he played as a midfielder for Shandong Taishan. The club won the Chinese Football League, the highest tier of professional football in China that year. His current teammates include former Manchester United and Everton midfielder Marouane Fellaini. He has also played 20 international matches for his home country, including in the FIFA World Cup last year. A Korea Football Association official said it had sought an explanation from Shandong Taishan, but has not heard back from the club. Chinese football has long been engulfed in allegations of bribery and match fixing. Recent detentions of major football figures have dealt another setback to the country's football ambitions. In February, just as stadiums started to reopen after COVID lockdowns, the president of the Chinese Football Association, Chen Suyan, was detained for suspected serious violations of discipline and the law. Mr. Chen's arrest was the 4th known example of a senior football official to be investigated in less than 3 months. Last November, former national coach Li Tai, who was one of China's most high-profile footballers, also came under investigation for serious violations of the law. Match fixing has also sparked controversy in South Korean football recently. Last month, the entire executive board of Korea's Football Association resigned after attempting to pardon some 100 people who had been banned from the sport due to match fixing and other offenses. Rugby League World Cup. France pulls out of hosting tournament in 2025. France has pulled out of hosting the 2025 Rugby League World Cup, with organizers citing financial reasons for the decision. The tournament was awarded to France after initial plans for it to be held in North America were scrapped. Organizers have been unable to meet financial out by the French government, leaving the event at the risk of a deficit. The tournament was to be staged during October and November 2025. The International Rugby League (IRL) says it will now consider other options for the 2025 tournament, with the board due to meet in July. It's difficult to express how disappointed I am with this news, said IRL Chair Troy Grant. There is no secret as to how important the strengthening of France as a rugby league nation is to our global game and central to our strategic plans. I respect the French government's decision amid the challenges they're facing, but I can't hide my disappointment that I conveyed clearly to them in person. Despite our focus having been on France, we will now accelerate our consideration of other contingency options. The 2025 tournament in France was to consist of 4 versions of the World Cup format: men's, women's, wheelchair, and youth. England held the event in 2022, with Australia being crowned the men's and women's champions and the host claiming the wheelchair title. After the success of last autumn's Rugby League World Cup in England, it is imperative that all in the sport now work with International Rugby League to review the international calendar for men's, women's, and wheelchair rugby league, said Rugby Football League Chair Simon Johnson. Former Bradford Bulls and Wigan Warriors head coach Brian Noble told BBC Sport, "Rugby league in the Northern Hemisphere has to get a whole lot stronger. I think England needs a very, very strong France and needs a France that can compete right through all levels," he said. "This World Cup, I feel, would have done that," he added. "In the short term, it's a punch in the stomach, the French not being able to host it. We need to help them to get stronger because the higher the competition, the better it will be for our national team." Gab Ellison reporting for Undaunted, ABC Amba News.
All right, thank you, Gab Ellison, for that report. And with that sports report, we've come to the end of Undaunted tonight. But before we go, let's take a look at our major highlights.
Well, Undaunted tonight, we brought to you Ambazonians returning to their usual activities today. Also, the Islamic Development Bank stakes 21 billion franc CFA for a so-called reconstruction of water in southern Cameroon.
Well, today we told you and gave you reasons why Ambazonians must boycott the 20th May celebration. Also, we told you that South Africa's ground forces commander visits Moscow. Another foreign first-time Kyiv has claimed to shoot down multiple Kinzhaus. And that was it for tonight. So Undaunted bringing to the news on Church Stories. On behalf of Michael Anchor Starsmart and all the other crew, we say thank you for tuning in.
Leave you with ABC Amba TV images. Good night and God bless you.
Just you were. No,